9 spine-chilling stories of sinister roommates, terrifying experiences revealed and unexplained. Sarah drew a shaky breath, the kind that trembles in the throat, as they unloaded boxes in their new home. The crisp sight of white picket fences and blooming flowers whispered promises of safety. Weeks of running, of hiding, had led her and her 17-year-old daughter, Mia, here a quaint suburban neighborhood in New Jersey, far from darkness. But with their first night settling in, a prickle of unease crawled up Sarah's back. Their roommate, Lisa, claimed her spot in the house too easily, with an unsettling smile that felt like a mask. At first, Lisa seemed perfect, a cozy mother figure who offered to make dinner, bond with Mia over stuffed animals, and fix any leaky faucet. Yet as the days faded into weeks, the warmth turned to frost when nighttime whispers slithered through the halls. Mia awoke sweating, nightmares where shadows moved and whispered, "We see you," clawing at her sleep. "You're just stressed," Sarah told herself over and over, but the chill creeping into her spine told a different story. Things grew darker when Lisa recounted an old tenant who had vanished without a trace. "How eerie," Sarah murmured, barely able to look at her. The way Lisa's eyes glinted told her this was no ordinary story but a sickening warning. The neighborhood felt safe, but whispers from the neighbors revealed fears of missing persons tied to Lisa's name. Sarah brushed it off. Who would believe such tales? But the sounds shuffling, murmurs gathered like storm clouds, too heavy to ignore. One night, a loud bang rattled the walls, a sinister reminder of their lack of control. Sarah bolted upright, heart racing like a wild animal trapped. Mia's voice, barely above a whisper, reached her ears. "Mom, I saw someone, watching from the corner." The cold grip of terror held Sarah tight as she frantically scanned the darkness of the room. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Taking a deep breath, Sarah steeled herself to confront Lisa the next time her stories took a dark turn. She waited at the edge of the kitchen, adrenaline coursing, when Lisa came in, the casual smile slipping into something more menacing. That conversation cut through Sarah, a predator disguised as a neighbor, enjoying the dance of fear that had danced into their lives unchecked. With every word, Lisa's past peeled back like an onion, bursting secrets that shattered Sarah's already fragile trust. But before Sarah could devise a plan, that loud crash returned, echoing through the dimly lit halls. Panic surged and each heartbeat screamed urgency. Time was slipping through her fingers, and as terror blanketed the house, she knew that uncovering Lisa's sinister truth was more than a fight for stability, it was a desperate fight for their lives. How long before they paid the price for this seemingly perfect escape? The walls seemed to breathe, expanding with each tremor of Sarah's heart. She felt the thick air wrap around her throat, stifling her words. Did Mia really see someone? Or was it simply the side effect of stress, of the chaos they had survived? The uncertainty gnawed at her, just as the scratching sounds from the walls intensified, like skeletal fingers dragging across old wood. "Mom!" Mia's voice shattered the silence again, trembling with fear. "They're saying something. I can hear them." A bolt of terror struck through Sarah as she rushed towards her daughter's bedroom. The shadows flickered like dark flames, teasing the edges of her sanity. As she entered, the sight of Mia curled up beneath her covers made Sarah's heart soften briefly, a flicker of warmth amidst the overwhelming cold. She knelt beside her. "Mia, you're safe. It's just our new home. Maybe just creaky walls." But Mia shook her head violently. "No, Mom. It's not the house. It's Lisa. I saw her. Talking to someone outside. They were just standing there." What if Lisa was more than she seemed? Sarah's gut twisted. All those casual comments about the previous tenant, the strange glances, the stories too eager to share. "I need to end this," Sarah whispered, conviction growing. They tiptoed down the hallway. Sounds echoed like bated breath, a chorus of unsettling whispers swirling around them. Every step made the wood creak ominously, each noise a reminder of how out of control this whole situation had spiraled. They reached the side door leading to the backyard, where a faint lull of murmurs floated in the air. "Let us see." Sarah gripped the doorknob. It was cold as ice. Was it from fear or what lay beyond? She opened the door and squinted into the moonlit dark. To the right, shadows slinked along the edges of the trees. There was Lisa, with her back turned, speaking softly. The dull glow from a flickering lantern illuminated her face, revealing a chilling smile that had nothing to do with warmth. Suddenly, Lisa turned. "I was wondering when you'd join us." Her voice was syrupy sweet, yet it dripped with venom. "I thought you could use some company. I have friends you should meet." Sarah's stomach plummeted, and Mia clutched her arm, eyes wide with terror. "Mom, we need to go back inside." Without thinking, Sarah yanked Mia back. The door slammed shut, sealing them from whatever dark plans Lisa had spun. Panic clutched at her chest as she spun around, desperately searching for a way to escape this madness. "We need to call the police," she stammered, her heart hammering. "Mom. What if Lisa knows?" A nightmare cemented into reality. The house felt alive, as if it was pinning them down. The shadows moved in the corners of Sarah's vision, increasing her sense of claustrophobia. But just as she reached for her phone, the lights flickered, plunging them into darkness. "Mom?" Mia's voice trembled, panic spilling over. The once palpable warmth of the house had transformed into an icy cavern wrapped in dread. Then came the unmistakable sound of footsteps. The unmistakable sound of Lisa's laughter tinkled through the dark hall. "You can't hide from me forever, dear. You belong to me now." Fear clawed at Sarah, raw and biting as she told herself to breathe, to think. But the panic wrapped tighter, and when she turned, the shadows whispered louder, echoing Lisa's eerie promise. What awaited them, tangled in the web Lisa had spun? Would escaping her grasp mean facing something worse? Unseen eyes seemed to watch as Sarah stood frozen, heart pounding, feeling the darkness close in like a vice. Would they stand their ground, or would fear lead them to a darker fate? The silence that enveloped them felt heavy, as if it had form and substance. Sarah's heart pounded violently against her chest. Each beat felt like a countdown to something dreadful. Mia clutched her arm harder, nails digging into flesh, grounding her in reality. "Mom, we can't stay here." The little girl gasped, her face pale in the flickering light of the emergency lantern. "I know, sweetheart, but we need to figure out what Lisa wants first," Sarah replied, voice trembling but resolute. Before she could finish, a sudden crash echoed from the living room, a shattering of glass that pulled them back to the present. "We have to investigate," Sarah said, her throat dry and tight. They moved cautiously, the ancient wood floor creaking beneath their weight. Each creak felt like a warning. Shadows flickered, dancing mockingly in the corners of the hallway. Rounding the corner, they found the living room in disarray. A window lay shattered where a sliver of moonlight sliced through the darkness. "Mia, stay close," Sarah warned, scanning the room. Fragments of glass sparkled on the floor like shards of lost hope. Then, an unnatural chill gusted through the room, making Sarah shiver. The shadows converged, seeming to pulse with life. "Mom," Mia whispered, her finger trembling as she pointed toward the remnants of what was once a small vase on the coffee table. In front of it, on the floor, lay a dark, thick smear of footprint embedded with some damp, black substance. Something primal in Sarah recoiled. "What?" she began, but didn't finish. They both looked up just as a whisper filled the air, sending molten fear racing down their spines. "Let me in," it breathed, like the rustle of leaves in a ghostly wind, before they could react, the figure of Lisa appeared in the doorway, her smile wider now, teeth glimmering in the faint light. "You shouldn't have tried to shut me out." Mia pressed against Sarah, sobbing quietly. Sarah's mind raced as she noticed the changes in Lisa. Her hair seemed to sway, alive with a life of its own. The air turned thick, dense with an energy that crackled with foreboding. "What do you want from us?" Sarah shouted, trying to project courage she didn't feel. "Just to play." Lisa replied, her voice dripping with false cheer. "You both will be such perfect additions to our game." "Mom! We need to run!" Mia screamed, pulling at Sarah's hand. With a surge of adrenaline, they darted towards the hall, but Lisa's laughter echoed behind them, a siren call spinning webs of dread. "You can't hide, my dears. You belong to me." As they sprinted down the hall, the walls warped, the shadows elongating as if trying to grab hold of them. The front door lay ahead, shimmering with the promise of escape. A shadow flickered past, a humanoid shape just out of reach, leaving trails of whispers in its wake. "Mom! Run faster!" Mia begged, her small legs pumping against the floor, the dread forcing them to move as one. But as they reached the door, it slammed shut with a resounding finality. It felt as if something from within had locked them in, trapping them once more. Sarah turned desperately, her eyes wide. "We have to find another way out." The whispers grew louder, they were no longer distant murmurs. They beckoned, promising safety even as danger lurked in every dark corner. Just as she turned to lead Mia back, the lights flickered again, dimming even more until they were almost engulfed in black. And then she felt it, a cold breath against her neck, a haunting lullaby sifting through the chill. "You're not alone anymore," panic erupted within Sarah as she clutched her daughter tight. Shadows crawled towards her, falling like a coup de grace, revealing a twisted multitude of figures stretching their thin arms out, wanting. Was it too late to escape? The walls pulsed, closing in tighter. What new horror waited to be unleashed? "Mom?" Mia cried out. Tendrils of dread tightened, and Sarah knew instinctively that what they believed was safety was only a cruel joke. Desperation clawed at her throat. How much time did they have left before Lisa and her sinister friends decided to finally make their move? The darkness pressed tighter, and she realized with icy terror they might not even need to find a way out. Whatever Lisa had planned, the end of the game was approaching, and it wouldn't be long before they would all know the true meaning of fear. Sarah's pulse raced as shadows twisted towards them, fingers of darkness stretching with an insidious hunger. Mia's terrified whimpers pierced the air, drowning out the whispers that fluttered like moths drawn to a flame. Panic clawed at Sarah's throat, each breath a battle against the crushing weight of despair. "Mom! We can't stay here." Mia's voice trembled, pure and terrified. "I'm trying, sweetheart." Sarah shouted back, her voice raw with fear. They stumbled backward, their backs colliding with the wall as the presence enveloped them. The darkness felt alive, writhing and pulsating around them. Shapes loomed, grotesque figures with eyes that glinted like shards of broken glass, hungry and relentless. "Why can't we just get out?" Sarah cried, her heart hammering. Dread coiled in her stomach, squeezing tighter with every agonizing second. "Because the door is not the way out." The words echoed chillingly through the room, Lisa's voice tainted with an unnatural glee. "You're not playing by the rules." Mia squeezed her eyes shut, biting her lip until blood tinged her mouth. "I want to go home." She whimpered, the desperation palpable in the dim, flickering light. "Home?" Lisa laughed, a sound that skittered across Sarah's skin like 1,000 icy spiders. "You're about to find a new home, my dear." From within the shadows, laughter erupted, shrill and haunting, a cacophony that shrieked of tortured souls. Sarah felt the color drain from her face as the shadows seemed to dance around her, pulling her in, tugging at her sanity. There was nowhere left to run. "Stay close to me," Sarah barked, grabbing Mia's hand. She squinted through the pulsating gloom, searching for any flicker of hope. There. A narrow gap in the wall, appearing and disappearing like a mirage. Over there. Come on. Sarah yanked Mia towards it, the shadows screaming in protest as if they were alive and felt threatened. They rushed toward the flickering light, each step sending waves of terror coursing through their veins. As they approached, something shifted, a dark figure emerging from the walls. It looked like Lisa, but twisted, her eyes hollow and sunken. "You can't escape," she screeched, her voice reverberating like thunder through the room. Mia shrieked as a sudden uncertainty settled over Sarah. The gap, the promise of escape, might trap them further in this nightmare. Doubt clawed at her, but the panic of the darkness was overwhelming. With a final desperate push, they lunged toward the gap. But just as they dove through, a cold grip seized Sarah by the ankle, pulling her backward. She screamed, the sound echoing through the darkness, drowning out everything else. "Emom!" Mia cried, her small body writhing as she reached for Sarah. In that moment, Sarah felt the weight of desperation crush her chest as dread morphed into anguish. She couldn't let her daughter go. "No. I want to leave you." But as she struggled, the grip only tightened, a sinister chill radiating through her body. The shadows swarmed around her, clawing, grasping, dragging her back into the depths as Mia was yanked alongside her, and then, as suddenly as it started, there was quiet. The figures faded, shadows retreating like a tide. Sarah blinked in confusion, catching her breath, disoriented but feeling a strange calm enveloping her. "Mia?" she hoarsely whispered. Her heart dropped as she saw Mia standing still, looking at something just beyond her reach, a small smile creeping across her face. Sarah followed her gaze to a place heavy with darkness, the whisper now a soft lullaby. "You have to join us." Panic surged once more as the realization hit her. Mia was mesmerized, drawn to the shadows that had just tried to consume them. "Mia! No! Come back!" Sarah screamed, lunging towards her. Mia's smile widened, and in that moment, Sarah knew they were in deeper than she could have ever imagined. The game had only just begun. "Mommy, can I play?" Mia asked, the innocence in her voice twisted by something darker. A cold sweat broke out across Sarah's spine as the walls began to pulse once again. What had overpowered them just now? And what had Mia truly become? A chilling thought struck her. This wasn't just about survival anymore. Would she save her daughter, or would she lose her completely? Before she could decide, the shadows leaped back toward them, eager to claim their prize. And from somewhere deep within the darkness, laughter erupted once more. A sudden chill swept through the air, a cruel reminder of the dark forces lurking beyond the veil of their vision. Sarah's instincts screamed at her to protect Mia, to snatch her away from whatever had captured her gaze. "Mia! Snap out of it!" Sarah shouted, her voice cracking, desperation clawing at the edges of her sanity. As she lunged forward, the shadows danced and flickered, pulling away at the edges of her awareness, threatening to swallow her whole. But Mia remained, entranced, eyes wide and unblinking. "They want to play," she uttered, her voice devoid of the innocence it once held. The shadows seemed to pulse in agreement, undulating like dark waves eager for a feast. Panic surged within Sarah, her heart drumming like a desperate prisoner trying to escape. "You're not playing with anyone. Come back to me." Mia shook her head slowly, a sad smile spreading across her face as if she were about to reveal a grand secret. "But Mommy, there's so much fun. Don't you want to play with us?" "No. No, honey. I would never want to play with them." The shadows recoiled momentarily, as if considering her words, but then they swarmed forward, the whispering voices rising again. Join us, join us." It was a siren-esque call, and Sarah could feel the pull within her own heart, threatening to ensnare her tether to reality. Desperation transformed into resolve. She couldn't lose Mia. Not to this, whatever it was. With a surge of adrenaline, Sarah sprinted forward, arms outstretched. She grabbed Mia's hand, the softness of her daughter's skin juxtaposed against the cold dread rippling through the air. "Mia, listen to me. You're stronger than this," she yelled. "I want to let you go." The shadow shrieked, a howl of discontent that cut through the room like jagged glass. They lashed out, slashing at the space between them, trying to sever the bond that connected mother and daughter. Sarah felt the phantoms claw at her ankles, icy fingers seeking to drag her down into the abyss. "Mommy!" Mia cried, confusion battling the darkness within her. Her small frame trembled, and for an instant, Sarah saw her daughter again, the frightened, innocent girl she had fought so hard to protect. "Yes. That's it. You're my little girl. Fight it." The grip on Mia wavered, her expression flickering like a candle in a storm. The grip of shadows slipped, but in that moment of hesitation, a new terror arose. The twisted figure of Lisa reformed from the inky deep, looming over them, her hollow eyes shining with malicious delight. "You think you can save her? You're all part of the game now." She cackled, her laughter echoing off the walls, a sound that radiated despair and hopelessness. With renewed urgency, Sarah yanked Mia closer, whispering, "We have to leave this place. Just stay with me, no matter what." Mia's face twisted, waking from her daze. "Mommy, I'm scared. What if they hurt us? Then we fight," Sarah said, her voice steady despite the terror gripping her. "They can't take you away from me. We're stronger together." The shadows clawed and tugged, but Sarah pressed on, dragging Mia through the oppressive darkness that clung to her like a shroud. But as they pushed deeper into the folds of shadow, the walls began to pulse again, warping and twisting. "What if that's not the way?" Mia asked, a hint of fear creeping back into her voice. Suddenly, the ground beneath them trembled as the wall nearest them opened into an endless void, a swirling mass of darkness, whispering promises of what lay beyond. Sarah stopped, heart racing. Could they dare jump into another unknown? Was this truly an escape? Mia, she hesitated, staring deep into the abyss. Would it be a way out or just another trap? Go! Mia screamed, her small voice a plea filled with urgency. In that instant, the shimmering shadows lunged again, furious to reclaim their prize, and Sarah knew they had no time left. "Now!" Sarah shouted, and with one last burst of strength, she leaped forward, dragging Mia with her, straight into the waiting darkness, and suddenly, the world fell away. What would they find on the other side? The air shifted violently as they plunged into the void. It felt like being catapulted through a storm. There were no walls, no ground beneath their feet, just a dark, swirling chaos that thrummed with an ominous energy. Sarah squeezed Mia's hand tighter, bracing for impact, praying for some form of solid reality to greet them on the other side. Then, with a jarring thud, they landed. Sarah gasped, breathless, and hoisted herself up, pulling Mia along, her heart racing. They found themselves in a vast, dimly lit cavern. The walls glimmered with a faint, sickly green light that twisted and morphed like the shadows that had pursued them. "Mia?" she whispered, scanning their surroundings. The air felt thick, charged with a sense of malevolence. "Are you okay?" Mia nodded, though her wide eyes reflected a pervasive dread. "Mommy, where are we?" "Somewhere, safer, I hope," Sarah replied, her voice barely above a whisper. But deep down, an unsettling chill trickled through her chest. There was no safety in the unknown. They moved cautiously, the ground uneven beneath their feet. Strange formations jutted from the walls, resembling grotesque faces frozen in an eternal scream, their mouths wide open as if begging for release. Sarah felt a wave of nausea, her own mind grappling with the spectacle. "Mia, we have to find a way out," she said, trying to steel her voice against the rising tide of panic. As they ventured deeper, flickering shadows began to skitter along the wall's eyes, always watching them. Each pair seemed to belong to something ancient, something that relished in their fear. The whispers intensified, a cacophony of voices that clawed at Sarah's sanity, each echoing the chilling sentiment, "Stay, stay, join us, no." Sarah shouted, her voice cracking in defiance. The walls quivered as if responding to her rejection, and the shadows recoiled momentarily before lunging again, darker and hungrier than before. "Mia." She pulled her daughter close. "We have to keep moving." But just as they turned to run, a flicker of light caught Sarah's eye. A doorway emerged from the wall, its edges glowing with an eerie luminescence. Was it salvation or another trap? "Mommy, look!" Mia shouted, pointing. The shadows hesitated, but then surged, furious to block their path. The whispers grew into a frenzied outcry, rising up like a monstrous wave ready to crash down. Sarah felt a fierce determination surging within her. "Mia, hold on to me." They sprinted toward the doorway as terror fueled their escape. The shadows slashed out with talon-like fingers, grazing Sarah's arm, leaving a trail of icy pain. "No! You want to take us?" Sarah yelled, tears of fury blinding her momentarily. They reached the door, shoving against the strange glowing material. It yielded, swinging open to reveal what lay beyond a blinding light, with flickering shapes dancing around it. "Mommy, please!" Mia cried, tugging at her sleeve. "Jump!" They leaped through the threshold, and in an instant, they were engulfed by the light. A moment of tranquility washed over Sarah, but it dissipated just as quickly. They landed hard on a frigid floor, gasping for breath. As they lay there, feeling the throbbing pulse of the world around them, Sarah blinked against the harsh brilliance. Where were they now? What had happened to escape them? The shadows whispered behind the door, turning back to their darkness as if assessing a game paused but not finished. Then came a chilling realization, chilling enough to freeze her blood. What if this isn't over? A deep reverberating laughter echoed from somewhere beyond the light, accompanied by the unmistakable sound of that twisted figure Lisa gathering strength. "Welcome back." A fresh wave of dread washed over Sarah and Mia. What awaits them next? The light retreated, shadows creeping back into Sarah's vision. Her breath quickened, a frantic rhythm matching the pounding in her chest. She scanned the new environment, suffused with a suffocating dread. The air was cold, sharp enough to bite at their skin. "Mia, stay close," she urged, her throat dry. They were in a long hallway, lined with warped mirrors that twisted their reflections into hideous parodies. Sarah shivered as one of the figures in the glass grinned back at her, its smile stretching unnaturally wide. A low hum vibrated through the air, weaving into the whispers they had heard earlier. "Join us, stay." The sound seemed to slither into Sarah's mind like 1,000 insects. "Mommy!" Mia yelped, her voice rising in panic. Before Sarah could respond, a loud crash echoed from the end of the hallway. The sound reverberated off the walls, striking a primal fear in both of them. "Run!" Sarah shouted, and they sprinted. The mirrors flashed by, reflections teasing them as darkness rolled in. It felt as if something was hunting them, lurking just beyond their view. They reached a heavy door at the far end, deep, wooden and ominous. Sarah shoved it open, only to stumble into a room draped in oppressive shadows. Inside, the air smelled of damp stone and decay. Flickering candles cast long, trembling shadows that danced grotesquely against the walls. Mia pressed against Sarah's leg, her eyes wide with terror. "Mia, it'll be okay," Sarah whispered, though she didn't truly believe it. The back of her neck prickled, a feeling that they were not alone. "Let us look around." A low, guttural growl rippled through the silence, causing them both to freeze. Dread pooled in Sarah's stomach. In the far corner of the room, a figure emerged from the darkness, a silhouette draped in tattered shadows. It shifted closer, revealing an impossibly twisted face, features blurred and distorting under flickering light, like a reflection warped by time and despair. "Uve returned." It shrieked, laughter echoing around the stone chamber. The voice was all too familiar. It was Lisa. "Mommy, please," Mia cried, backing away, but there was nowhere to hide. "Why do you fight it?" Lisa continued, a sickly sweet tone lacing her words. "You can join us, the others, they are waiting." "No!" Sarah screamed, her heart racing and fists clenched. "We want to join you." The room darkened at her defiance, shadows stretching further toward them, enveloping Mia in a choking embrace. Sarah lunged forward, grabbing her daughter's arm. They had to find another way out. They had to. Suddenly, the candles extinguished, plunging them into darkness. Panic surged as Sarah's hands flailed. She clutched Mia, feeling her heartbeat thunder against her small chest. "Mommy, I can't see," Mia whimpered. "Hold on to me," Sarah shouted, fighting against the encroaching void. Then the laughter returned, a chaotic chorus echoing around them like a haunting melody that promised despair. Let the game begin. With a surge of determination, Sarah pulled Mia toward what she hoped was the door, but the shadows seemed to have a mind of their own. They grabbed at her clothes, tugging her back, dragging her into despair. "Fight!" Sarah yelled into the void, summoning every last ounce of her strength. "We won't give in." But what stood before them felt insatiable, a hungry darkness waiting to consume them whole. Would they break through? Or was this the end of their fight against the void? As the shadows tightened their grip, Sarah's resolve began to crack. What happens when the darkness swallows hope? The darkness suffocated, an endless void pressing against Sarah and Mia. Breaths quickened, trembling in the chilling air. The shadows twisted, coiling around them like serpents. Mia's tiny fingers clung fiercely to her mother's arm, nails digging in as they were pulled deeper into the lurking dread. "Mommy, I'm scared." Mia's voice broke, muffled by the fear filling the space between them. "Just stay close," Sarah urged, choking back her own terror. "We have to find the way out." They stumbled against an unseen force, the void pressing harder, as if it was alive, intent on swallowing them whole. "Let us try to get to the wall," Sarah shouted, her voice rising above the laughter that echoed all around. They turned toward where the wall should be, hope igniting a flicker of courage. Darkness swirled around them, tugging at their clothes, threatening to pull them apart. When Sarah's palm finally met the cold, rough texture of stone, she wanted to scream in relief. "Okay, now we just go," she began, but the growling disrupted her, a low rumble vibrating ominously. Something was out there, lurking in the shadows. "What do you want?" Sarah yelled into the suffocating murk, her voice trembling. "Join us," the whispering chorus returned, sinking into her like poison, making her head spin. The shadows shifted, the air thickening with their malignant intent. Sarah gripped Mia tighter, eyes squinting, searching for some sign of an escape. The flicker of a distant light caught her attention. "Look, Mia. Do you see that?" She gasped, pointing toward a beam dancing on the far wall. Mia's eyes shimmered with a fragile hope. "But it's still dark. What if it's a trick?" "That's the only way," Sarah insisted, unwilling to let panic sweep her away yet again. They needed to act. Pushing through the thick shadows, they hurried toward where the light pulsed. The laughter morphed into shrieks of mockery at their desperation, taunting them. Sarah's heart raced, pounding in her ears. Each thump felt like a countdown to something dreadful. The closer they got, the more palpable the heat from the light became, a contrast to the biting cold that surrounded them. Shadows writhed angrily, refusing to yield. Suddenly, a harsh voice cut through, harsh and jagged. "You think you can escape? You belong to us." Desperation surged as Sarah quickened her pace, pulling Mia along. The light flickered, and then it dimmed, almost flickering out. "Mommy!" Mia cried loudly, terror lacing her tiny voice. "Keep running!" Sarah shouted back, heart slamming violently in her chest. They barreled forward, racing towards the dying light, the shadows raging behind them, whispers turning to roars, just as they reached for the brightness, it extinguished, plunging them back into an abyss. The shadows took shape, thick figures emerging, clawing at their legs, noxious laughter escalating to a maddening pitch. Then, in the midst of the cacophony, a new sound broke through the sound of something being dragged. "What's that?" Mia squeaked in horror. A figure crashed against the wall before them, a grotesque distortion of flesh and shadow, eyes gleaming with malevolence. "You can't leave, you're just like us now." Sickening dread poured into each crevice of Sarah's mind, her vision clouding with panic. She grabbed Mia's hand, squeezing hard. "Run!" she screamed, but the shadows tightened, relentless. In that agonizing moment, the reality sank and the line between hope and despair blurred, and Sarah was left to ponder if they would ever escape. And then, just before the shadows engulfed them, a voice surged from somewhere inside the darkness, familiar and haunting. Welcome home. Was this the end of their fight, or merely the beginning of something far worse? The air crackled with an oppressive energy, thick with despair and shadows that twisted around Sarah and Mia like hungry beasts. The grotesque figure that loomed before them beckoned, its elongated fingers curling seductively, promising the comfort of oblivion. Sarah's heart thundered as the reality of their situation crushed down upon her. Each breath was a battle against the suffocating fear. Mia's grip tightened painfully. "Mommy, I don't want to stay here." Her voice trembled, laced with raw panic that echoed through the void. "Hold on!" Sarah cried, her words both a plea and a command. She surged forward, pulling her daughter behind her, fighting against the dark tide that sought to pull them under. But the shadows stirred as if they were alive. They shrieked in fury, a cacophony of taunts that clawed at Sarah's will. "You think you can escape? You belong to us," they hissed, and for a brief moment, Sarah felt the truth of those words curl around her heart. Pushing forward, she cast a frantic glance around, seeking something, anything, that could help. The wall felt like a lifeline, but it wasn't solid enough to anchor her against the chaos. Unsteady, she stumbled, and the laughter that surrounded them grew into a maddening roar as her foot brushed against something icy and slick on the ground. "Mia!" she gasped. The darkness splattered before her, revealing a shadowy shape that lay inert. Fear knotted in her stomach as she knelt down, feeling for signs of life only to recoil, horrified, when she realized it was the remains of a puppet-like creature, thin and contorted, as if it had once been human. "What is it, Mommy?" Mia whimpered, stepping back, eyes wide with terror. "Nothing, just stay close," Sarah stammered, bile rising in her throat. They couldn't let the shadows claim them like this. An idea sparked, raw and desperate. "We have to create light. If we can't reach it, we can make it." She frantically rummaged through her memories, searching for any way to fight. "What do you mean?" Mia replied, voice quavering as the shadows coiled tighter. "Think of something bright," Sarah urged. "Anything that makes you feel safe. Focus on it." With a deep breath, Sarah closed her eyes, calling on the warmth of sunlight filtering through the trees on summer days, the glow of laughter filling their home, and the brilliant light of Mia's birthday cake the year before. She envisioned it burning away the darkness that wrapped around them. Mia's eyes widened, her small face illuminated with a flicker of hope. "The lanterns!" she exclaimed, remembering the night they de-lit them together, white and yellow glowing against the night sky. Sarah felt a jolt of energy surge within her. "Yes. Picture it. Picture them all around us." For a heartbeat it was quiet, the shadows stilled as if held at bay by their brightness. Then, with a surge of energy, Sarah raised her hands and breathed life into the images spinning in her mind. She concentrated harder, envisioning the flickering lights dancing in unison, wrapping them in safety. But the shadows roared back, a solid wall of fury that smashed against her thoughts. "You cannot burn!" they screeched. Just then, a faint glow flickered through the oppressive gloom and a burning light ignited around them. For a moment, it felt like they could break free. But an unseen force slammed into them, ripping away their hope, shattering their fragile safety like glass. I'm scared. Mia cried, clinging to her mother as the dark laughter crescendoed once more, gnashing at her resolve. Keep focusing. Don't let it take you. Sarah screamed, but the shadows slithered and twisted, their shapes contorting into monstrous faces, gaping mouths screaming in appetizing hunger. Then, as if in response to their defiance, a sudden roar echoed from deep within the abyss. Something enormous shifted, a flicker of real terror inciting a new panic as they both turned. Welcome home, the voice echoed again, chilling them to the bone. Mommy, who is that? Mia's voice trembled with anxiety. I don't know, but we have to go. Before Sarah could pull Mia toward safety, the wall behind them groaned, cracking, splitting open, a yawning chasm ready to swallow them whole. Mommy! Mia howled in terror as darkness surged forward, a wave, no, a tidal force aiming to claim them, and then, in the jagged darkness of the split wall, something slithered out, grotesque and twisted eyes glowing with hunger and malice. Will you play with us? It hissed, a chilling invitation slithering through the air, making Sarah's stomach drop. With terror gripping her heart, Sarah felt the ground beneath their feet tremble, that invitation weaving its way into her mind. Was it too late to run? In that moment, terror clawed at her thoughts. How would they escape the shadows closing in, led by that sinister promise? Whatever awaited them in the dark could not be good, and as they stood poised on the edge of that chasm, a new dread filled the air. What if it wasn't just one invitation waiting for them, but an entire army ready to join the hunt? The darkness swirled around Sarah and Mia, a living entity yearning to claim them whole. Each shadow pulsed like a malignant heart, drawing closer, whispering sinister promises threaded with fear and despair. Sarah felt her resolve tremble, but she had to push back. Mia, we fight! She shouted, a ripple of anger propelling her forward. We aren't giving up. Mia nodded, though her tiny frame shook with uncertainty. But it's so dark, Mommy, light the way, sweetheart. Remember the lanterns? Sarah pleaded. Channel your hope. They stood, clasping hands, both their thoughts flickering with memories of warmth and joy. A golden afternoon in the park, the laughter shared over birthday cake, the hugs that wrapped them in comfort. Slowly, a glow began to build between them. A thin wisp of light flickered like a candle struggling against the wind. Yes. Sarah urged as the glow brightened, ripping through the shadows. It pulsed, shimmering red and yellow, stretching out like fingers to push back the darkness clawing at them, but the turmoil grew when the darker shadows retaliated. They surged forward, shrieking with rage as the sinister figure of Lisa emerged within their masses, laughter bubbling from her lips like an unnerving melody. You think that light can save you? You belong to us. No. Sarah screamed, tightening her grip on Mia. Their radiant ball of light fought back against the encroaching shadows, illuminating more grotesque forms with hollow eyes and twisted smiles. Each flicker of courage banished the despair, but it took everything Sarah had to keep that shimmer alive. Focus, Mommy. Mia cried, her voice filled with newfound strength. I can see them. I can see the lanterns. The flickering grew brighter, a beacon against the dark, pushing the shadows back in a spectacular battle of light and dark. But Lisa stepped forward, her face filled with malevolent glee, eyes dancing with shadows. You can't run from your fate. Join us, and the darkness will set you free. We'll never join you. Sarah roared, her heart igniting with defiance. But the shadows howled, desperate to swallow them whole. It's too late. You've already taken part in the game. No. We are not your puppets. We have our own light, and we will not be extinguished. With that conviction, they pressed on. Sarah felt the warmth of their shared memories pulse brighter, pushing against Lisa's twisted laughter. They surged forward, creating more light until the dark pulsated in fear. Then, as if summoned by the intensity of their will, a crack exploded in the shadows. The path before them began to reveal itself, an opening framed in brilliant light as the shadows recoiled, their sinister forms screaming in disarray. Mom, go! Mia screamed as the light expanded, Pulling them, fueled by fierce urgency, they raced toward the glowing doorway, dodging scrambling shadows as they left chaos behind. With one last push, they dove through, bursting into the light, feeling warmth envelop them like a protective shroud. They landed on soft grass, breathing the sweet summer air, sunlight spilling over them. With a quick glance back, Sarah saw the doorway shrink, shadows dissipating into nothingness, defeated by their united strength. "Mommy! We did it!" Mia squealed, her innocence shining through as she jumped up, clapping her hands. "Yes, we did, darling. We made it." A teary laughter bubbled out of Sarah, pulling her daughter into a tight embrace. A rush of relief flooded through her, mingled with the horror they'd escaped. The world around them pulsed brightly with life, birds singing, flowers blossoming. It felt like a second chance. But as they took in the serene sight, a heaviness lingered in the muted background. What if they come back? Mia's voice trembled. "We'll be ready," Sarah replied fiercely, feeling hope surge within her. "We won't let the darkness win again." That promise forged a stronger bond, unbreakable by whatever lay beyond. Together, they walked forward, ready to embrace whatever came next, united against the shadows of their past. As they stepped into a new day, the darkness faded. Behind them. "Mom? Yeah, honey? Can we plant a new garden together? One with lots of light?" Tears glimmered in Sarah's eyes, and she smiled softly. "Absolutely. A bright one." Their laughter felt like the sun breaking through clouds, a promise of warmth cutting through the remnants of the night they'd escaped. United and alive, they ventured into the future, leaving fear behind, and in the shadows, echoes of laughter faded, weaving into the fabric of light, reminder of what true strength could overcome. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss future exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help keep the darkness at bay. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who could use a story like this. Let us build our community of light.